25th of March 25, and it's Wednesday, and Rachel Reeves had her spring statement. And it looks like they're trying to please the OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility. So I was just looking to see how good they are at predicting, because it seems to be some sort of quango. Possibly Gordon Brown set up in 2010, and Liz Truss didn't hand in her budget thing uh, to the OBR for them to check, and there was a big thing about it. So um, I was just looking at it. Here's Grok.
Inflation forecasts have also been inconsistent. In its March 2023 forecast, the OBR predicted CPI inflation of 4.1% for 2024, but by late 2024, outerns were closer to 5.7%, a 1.5-point miss driven by energy price volatility post-Ukraine invasion. Net migration, another key fiscal input, was underestimated in 2023, projected at 310,000 but reaching 740,000, impacting tax revenue and spending projections.
I mean, it's another quango basically, so...
Despite these misses, the OBR's forecasts are often close to the consensus of other forecasters, e.g., Bank of England, IMF for short-term GDP, and its access to government data gives it an edge on fiscal details. The International Monetary Fund has praised its methodology as best practice among advanced economies, noting its errors are smaller on average than the Treasury's pre-2010 efforts. Critics, however, argue its optimism bias, particularly on growth and productivity, undermines credibility, with some like Liz Truss claiming it constrains bold policy.
Yeah, they seem to be overly optimistic most of the time and get it wrong. So.
In summary, the OBR's forecasts are reasonably good for short-term GDP, within 1–2% of outerns pre-crisis, but less so for longer-term growth, borrowing, and variables like inflation or migration, where errors can exceed 50% in volatile years. It's not perfect. Economic forecasting rarely is, but it's an improvement over politically influenced predecessors. Its accuracy hinges on stable conditions, which have been rare since 2010.
Because I was in support of quangos, I thought quangos is a group of wise people, but now I don't know really. And I was looking to see who's against it, basically. Liz Truss is maybe the main one.
Liz Truss has been vocal in her criticism of the OBR. In a post on X on October 29, 2024, she stated, "When politicians outsource power to unelected bodies like the, they destroy accountability and democracy. We will only be able to implement conservative economic policies when it is abolished." This suggests she supports its abolition, aligning with her actions during her 2022 mini-budget, which bypassed OBR forecasts, leading to economic turbulence.
But also some Labour MPs, only a few though, from what I've seen so far.
Jonathan Hinder, a new Labour MP, wrote an article referenced by The Independent on March 21, 2025, questioning the OBR's influence. He described the upcoming spring statement as entirely framed by this powerful quango, indicating frustration with its authority. While he did not explicitly call for abolition, his critique suggests a desire for reduced power or reform, which could align with abolitionist sentiment.
Yeah, and there's the only other one was an anonymous Labour MP.
A backbench Labour MP, quoted anonymously by Politics Home on March 26, 2025, via an X post by, expressed agreement that the government needs to do something about the OBR's remit and forecasting. They urge the Treasury to break the stranglehold of an austerity-obsessed Whitehall department, implying the OBR. This does not explicitly demand abolition but reflects discontent that could lean towards such a position.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, So it seems that the very liberal right ones don't like it. And possibly the far left, I don't know. Because I wonder, Reeves and Keir Starmer seem to be basing their budget around the Office for Budget Responsibility and tried to please them. But to me, it seems as if they get things wrong quite often, predictions.
In its latest outlook accompanying Rachel Reeves' spring statement, the Office for Responsibility OBR said it does not expect real GDP per person to return to 2022 levels before the energy crisis hit until 2026.
The energy crisis. Was that to do with Russia going to war? I can't remember. Way the wrong page.
Meanwhile, the OBR highlighted the role of net migration, which has hit a new record annual high of 906,000 in the growth of the economy over recent years.
That's net as well, that's not gross, which is probably around 1.4 million or something, as I recall, right? So they got that wrong probably as well.
It pointed out that official figures have revised up the size of the UK workforce last year by 1.5%, 500,000 people. However, real GDP did not gain much ground over the year, with economic output per hour worked falling. As a result, GDP per person was lower.
So this is with people coming in, we were told that this would increase the economy now, but it just seems to be stagnant, really. And she's doing more spending because of austerity. But I wonder who. I don't think Labour really have a mandate because at the moment they've got about 22% in the polls, and so and at the election they get 66% of the MPs. So from Hannah Keir's point of view, they've got a massive mandate, but they only get 33% of 59% of voters. So they get a very small amount. I think they get about 20% of voters in reality. Um, and I think now a lot have moved to Reform or to the Green Party even. I mean, I would imagine real socialists. I don't know why socialists are voting Labour anyway. They should be voting Green, I would have thought. Or even SDP or Liberal Democrats even. I think they're more left than Labour really. Especially this two, Kieran Reeves. They seem to be more right wing than Ian Duncan Smith or Nigel Farage or John Redwood, whoever you want to pick out of that lot. Um, but I don't know. They seem to be going for austerity a lot. It seems to say we should go for growth in these times. What did the OBR say on this?
Chancellor announces extra welfare cuts with health element of universal credit to be cut for new claimants by 50% and then frozen. She was forced to act after the OBR judged that previous welfare cuts were not worth the £5 billion that ministers claimed. The OBR said the adult population is set to expand by another 2.1 million people over the next 5 years, again driven by net inflows. The watchdog is assuming that annual net migration will fall sharply from 728,000 in the year to mid-2024 to a trough of 258,000 in the year to mid-2027. It is expected to be 340,000 in 2029 minus 30.
I mean, personally, I'm not sure this Labour government will make it another 2 or 3 years. I don't think we have a real democracy, you know. To vote once every 5 years for a party hamper isn't acceptable in my opinion. We've got to be like Switzerland, the electoral system where they have referendums quarterly, plus petition referendums. You know, we've got to be a dynamic democracy as much as possible. We've got to be voting on issues rather than for people or for parties, especially. Because they just don't have a mandate as far as I'm concerned. Um,
But real GDP growth largely stagnated over the second half of 2024 rather than continuing to grow, as we expected in the October forecast, meaning the level of output was broadly in line with our previous expectations by the end of 2024.
yeah, I mean, I don't really know what's going to happen. I don't think the way we went has helped anything. I don't think Labour have any mandate, especially now when they're getting about 22% of the polls. Personally, I think if you get under 20%, there should be a general election, really, if you're consistently getting under 20%. Because really, I don't think they have a mandate, even though we get two-thirds of the MPs. It's because our electoral system's no use, really. Uh, she's probably thinking, get your hand off me, take your hand off me. I don't know. That's the way I'm thinking anyway. Alright, goodbye.